Hello, in this lesson we will talk about iteration statements and exactly about certain one. First of all, what does the iteration statement? It repeatedly executes a statement or block of code until a specified condition returns false. There are four iteration statements in the C# language: the for each, do, and while statements. Except for statement, you can call it for loop, by which name is more known. You use it when you know exactly how many times you want to loop through some code.
And here is the syntax of the for loop. So the for keyword indicates a loop in C#, which is this. Then we have the initializer. What means that? Well, we have to initialize or declare a variable that will be local to a for loop, and you can't access it when you're outside of the loop, when you're not inside those brackets. If you're here, you can use the variable which is initialized here. Initialize means declared. So it can also be zero or more assignment statements, method call, increment or decrement expression. So that's about the initializer. Then we have the condition. Well, the condition is some boolean expression which will return true or false, and when it returns false, we stop going inside the curly braces and we go here if there's some other code to be executed. So when the condition returns true, we continue going inside the loop curly braces and executing the statements which are inside it. And if this condition is true, how I said, we go inside and the code, the block of code will be executed again. That's about the condition. And then we have the iterator. The iterator, it defines the incremental or decremental of the loop variable. So you can increase it or decrease it by 1. It's up to you and the situation that you have. So that is the iterator. It increments the variable which we initialize and by which we goes inside the loop or we exit from it. When we first of all go inside the curly braces and we are here, and let's say we execute some statement, then we go again here and we check if our statement is again true. If it's again true, the return value, then we iterate the variable which we declare here by 1, and again go inside the loop and execute the block of code or the current statement. That's what is inside the for loop. so that it has how works and the syntax, which has the for statement. And now I'm gonna show you with an example to get more what I was talking about. So now what we have? Well, first of all, we have to initialize, and that is declaring a new variable inside the for loops brackets. We have type int, and usually the name of the initializer is I, and it is also equal to 0, and that is the start of looping. So our start value is 0, and when we go inside the for loops curly braces and we execute some block of code, well, then we increase this value, and from 0 it goes to, let's say, 1 if we are incrementing and you can of course give to this initializer some other value. It's not necessary to be 0, but in the most situations it is good to start from 0, because in the programming, like you always start from 0, not by 1, and that is why here we have 0. But again, it is based on the situation you have. And also you can name your initializer by other name. It's not necessary to be I, but that is in the common cases. And then when we initialize, we have to give some condition expression to our loop, and then we have to check it. But first of all, we have to create it, and here it is the condition expression in this example. So we have I less than 5, and like I said, we have to check this condition. Well, is it I less than 5? Well, I is equal to 0, so is it 0 less than 5? And the answer is yes. So the return value would be true. If that is incorrect, if we have, let's say, 6 for I, well, 6 is not less than 5, so we would have a false return value. But now we have true, so we go inside those curly braces and we execute the statement or the block of statements. And we have to print in the console I, which now is equal to 0. So in the first loop, we would have printed on the console 0. Now, what the for loop does, well, The next part of its work is the incrementation. Here is the incrementation. And what means that? Well, that is equal to that is equal to this, I plus 1. So incrementation means that we are increasing by 1. So I becomes equal to 1 because by now it was 0, but when we increase it by 1, when the incrementation is done, we have as a result 1. I is equal to 1. So now it is 1. And when this is ready, we have to check again the same condition which we have. And it is this. Because now I, or our variable, is not 0. By the incrementation, now it is equal to 1. So we have 1 less than 5. And is it 1 less than 5? The answer is true. So when we have a true value, we go inside. So that is repeating again and again and again. And when I is equal to 6, let's say, well, is it 6 less than 5? Well, now we have false. And when we have false, we don't go inside the curly braces of the for loop. We exist and we continue with the other code which we have here. If we have and this value, this I, you can't use it outside the for loop. You can't use it here. You can't say I is equal to 7 or something. I mean, is equal to 7. You can do that because the life of this variable, it is only inside the curly braces. So you can't use it here because it lives only here. But if you have, let's say, some variable which is before the for loop, let's say we have some number which is 8, this variable, you can use it inside the curly braces. You can say that you want to print the num here, and it will works. But that is because this variable lives between these curly braces. And this one lives here, inside those one. So what we have in conclusion? Well, here is our start. Here is our end. We end our for loop when we get some number which is higher than 5 or equal to, if we have 5, well, 5 is not less than 5, so again we'll have false. And again, we wouldn't go inside the for loop braces. So, first of all, initializing, then some condition, checking the condition. If it returns true, you go inside the curly braces of the for loop and you execute the statement or block of statements inside them. Then you go and increment the variable, which is I. You increase it by 1. And again check the condition. If the condition returns true, you go again inside the curly braces, but if it returns false, well, you exit the for loop. And now we are gonna solve some problems. Now I'm gonna show you how the example works. The for keyword, then the brackets, and now we have to initialize or declare a variable of type int, which I would call again I, and it would be equal to 0. Now the condition statement, which would be the same, I less than 5, and then the increment part, I plus plus. Then the curly braces. That is how you can wrote them faster. Space, then the curly braces, and enter. And inside them, what we have? Well, we're gonna print CW tap tap makes that, again for faster coding. And inside the console right line brackets, we're gonna put the I. Now let's start the program to see what we will have. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. But why? Well, it's pretty easy. We start from 0. So first of all, we print on the console 0. And that is correct. Then we increment the I and it becomes 1. We check this condition and is it 1 less than 5? True. So we again go inside the curly braces and execute this line. So we have 1 on the console. Then again we increment, again we check. Is it 2 less than 5? Yes. So we go inside and execute the current line. Then again we increment, and is it 3 less than 5? True. Then is it 4 less than 5? True. Again we print, and when we have 5, which is now we have 5, and we check, is it 5 less than 5? We have false, and that is why we don't have 5 here. If we want to print including 5, we should say that we want to be our condition I less or equal to 5. And now I'm gonna show you. And also, if you want to print the numbers from 1 to 5, including 5, here we should change the 0 value to 1. And here to say that we want I to be less or equal to 5. In the two cases, the return value would be true. If we have number smaller than 5, or we have 5. And now let's start again the program. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. By for loop, you can't only print the numbers from the smaller to the bigger one. You can reverse the loop and, let's say, print 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can make that if you say that this variable I is equal to 5, and this loop will continue executing the same code here, or the same block of code, while I is bigger than 0. And here you are not gonna increment, you are gonna decrement. So you start from 5, and while this condition statement, while I is bigger than 0, by starting with 5, the value of I is 5, and while this 5 or other number is greater than 0, you're gonna continue executing the statement or block of statements inside the for loop curly braces, for loops curly braces. So while that is true, you continue looping. And first you'd have, is it 5 greater than 0? True, so you go here and execute this line. Then you decrement, so you have now 4. because when you decrease 5 by 1, you of course have 4. So now you continue. Is it 4 bigger than 0? True. So again, you go inside those curly braces and execute this line. And when I becomes 0, you would have, is it 0 bigger than 0? And of course false. So you exit the for loop and you continue here if there is some other code. And let's try out this by starting the program. And we have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's what we expected. So that works. And you can use the reverse for loop. So you can print in this situation the numbers reversed.